yourself, David Brody. How are you? Good to see you.
Pleasure to be here.
What's going on?
Well, not much. A book. Something about a book.
I know, Teavangelicals.
Now, a look at the connection between the Tea Party and evangelicals. That's the subject of a new book, The Teavangelicals, the inside story of how the evangelicals and the Tea Party are taking back America. Written by David Brody.
Welcome back to Morning Joe. It's 7:33 in the morning here on the East Coast. With us now, the chief political correspondent for the Christian Broadcasting Network, David Brody. He's out with the new book, The Teavangelicals, the inside story of how the evangelicals and the Tea Party are taking back America. David, good to see you this morning.
Well, our Washington reporter, David Brody, is here with us today, and he's written a book with the intriguing title, The Teavangelicals. Dave, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you, Pat. Great to be here.
Thank you.
To be here.
We're back. Conventional wisdom says Mitt Romney needs to court independence to win the presidency, but the Christian Broadcasting Network's David Brody argues that the key to Romney's political future in this election hinges on winning over the same Tea Party and evangelical voters who gave him the cold shoulder during the primaries. He needs to win the people he lost in the fight with Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich. David Brody makes his case in a new book, The Teavangelicals.
It's evangelicals.
Teavangelicals, the story of how evangelicals and the Tea Party got together. Let me ask you about it. First of all, pronounce it for me.
The Teavangelicals.
Okay, who are they?
Story.
Who are they?
They are conservative Christians who are breaking bread with Tea Party libertarians.
The author of Teavangelical. He is from CBN. Correspondent David Brody is here. I've spoken to congregation after congregation all over the country, and people have been saying, we need a third great awakening. I contend we're in it, but we're at the beginning of the third great awakening. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. And I also think that you'll hear, obviously, David Barton and Jim DeMint, and we've heard Ted Cruz here tonight talk about that as well. Absolutely, because one of the reasons that these conservative Christians, as I call them, are breaking bread with the Tea Party is they understand that government's getting way too bigger and God is getting way too smaller in the public arena. And when I first got to these rallies in 2009 and 2010, the first thing I noticed that they were opening these Tea Party rallies with prayer, and I actually saw a couple of prayer circle groups at these Tea Party rallies. And, they were praying for our country, and they were praying for everything from the debt ceiling to the balanced budget amendment. I mean, they were praying for this stuff. And I said, well, maybe I should do some interviews. And when I went around, I talked to them. I noticed they were indeed, many of them, conservative Christians. Sure, there are libertarians out there as well. But the truth is, they're conservative and they're Christian. And so I had to come up with a name for it. I figured, hey, we need a moniker of some sort. And I went with Tea Party Christian at first. I said, oh, that's a little too boring. And then I said, well, how about a Christian Tea Partier? And I said, hey, that's too radical for the Christians. And I said, well, you know what? Teavangelical. Perfect. And that's exactly what they are.
How big a force are they in American politics?
They're huge. They're the worker bees. Right now, Ralph Reed's group, one of the Teavangelical organizations I point out in the book, the Faith and Freedom Coalition, I mean, they have the cell phones and emails of 13 million Teavangelicals right now in this country. They didn't have that in 2008. They actually have the cell phone numbers of these Teavangelical type voters. They're contacting them, distributing voter guides, not in churches, Judy, but distributing them via text message. And what's interesting here is that a lot of them may indeed pull that trigger, or that lever, if you will, for Romney in 2012. It's a much different game here. The question for the Teavangelicals out there is that they may have been not all that enthused about Mitt Romney in the GOP primary, but they will most likely vote for Romney. The question is, will they bring a friend and will they organize?
David Brody, author of the new book, The Teavangelicals. Thank you very much. It's good to have you back with us.
Thanks, Judy. Pleasure to be here.